At our engagement party, my fiancé stated he'd settled down too young, so I called off the wedding, and now his family is rallying to rescue him from me. I thought I knew everything about him. We'd been together for 4 years, 4 incredible, passionate years. From the moment I met Liam, I knew he was the one. He was smart, ambitious, charming, and the way he looked at me made my heart race. We moved in together after just 6 months, and after a year, he proposed in the most romantic way I could ever imagine, on a cliffside at sunset, overlooking the ocean, with a band playing our favorite song. It was everything. But tonight was supposed to be the night that marked the beginning of the rest of our lives. Our engagement party, the one I'd spent weeks planning, was happening at his parents' house. The excitement was electric. His family, my family, and all our friends were there to celebrate. I stood in front of the mirror, smoothing out my dress. It was simple but elegant, the kind of dress I knew Liam would love. I touched my hair, feeling the weight of my emotions, and stared at my reflection. This was it. The beginning of forever. "Baby, you look amazing." Liam's voice broke through my thoughts as he stepped into the room. He was dressed in a sharp navy suit, his hair neatly styled. The way he looked at me made my stomach flutter. "Thanks," I said, trying to keep the excitement in my voice. "Are you ready?" Liam's smile was warm, but there was something different about it tonight. A slight tension in his jaw, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "Yeah," he said, though it sounded more like a sigh than an answer. We headed downstairs, and as soon as we entered the party, the crowd erupted in applause. It felt like a dream. Everyone was congratulating us, complimenting the ring, and congratulating Liam. His parents, who were practically glowing with pride, welcomed us with open arms. It felt like everything was falling into place. But then came the moment that shattered everything. As the evening wore on, people began to gather in groups, sipping champagne and enjoying the appetizers. I was in the middle of a conversation with one of my closest friends when Liam excused himself. I noticed he was walking towards the corner of the room, away from the crowd. It was strange, but I shrugged it off. Maybe he needed a moment. Minutes later, I saw him again. This time, he was standing in front of the fireplace, his hands stuffed in his pockets. His parents were standing beside him, and his mother was talking animatedly. But there was something off about Liam. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't engaged. He looked distant. I made my way over to him, my heart racing, hoping to bring him back into the fold of the celebration. But when I reached him, the smile I had expected didn't come. Instead, Liam turned to me, his face pale, his eyes flickering with something I couldn't place. "Liam?" I asked softly, feeling a knot form in my stomach. He looked at me, then at his parents, and back at me again. There was a hesitation in his eyes, and then he said something that felt like a punch to the gut. I think I've settled down too young," he said, his voice low, barely audible above the murmurs of the crowd. My blood ran cold. I blinked, not understanding what I had just heard. "What do you mean?" He looked around at the party, at all the smiling faces, and then back at me. "I don't think I'm ready for this. I love you, I really do, but I think I've rushed into this. Maybe I wasn't ready for marriage, for settling down." My heart sank. My mouth went dry. "What are you saying, Liam? This is our engagement party. We've been planning this for months. You can't." I know, he interrupted, his voice rising with a hint of frustration. "But I feel like I'm suffocating. Like I'm giving up everything for something I'm not ready for." I felt the weight of his words settle on my chest. I looked around at the crowd, and then back at him, struggling to keep my composure. "This isn't about you and me, is it?" I whispered, my voice shaking. "This is about you, isn't it?" He opened his mouth to protest, but I cut him off. "I thought you were the one, Liam." I thought we were building a life together. But now you're telling me that you feel like you've settled down too young? What am I supposed to do with that? Liam's face turned pale, and he took a step back, his hands lifting in an attempt to explain. But I wasn't having it. No, I said, my voice growing stronger. I can't do this. Not like this. Not with you looking at me like I'm the reason you feel trapped. If you don't want this, then we're done. I turned to walk away, but he reached for my arm. Please, don't. No, Liam, I snapped, jerking my arm away. Don't touch me. You don't get to do this. Not tonight. Not like this. The room had gone silent. Everyone was watching us, and I could feel their eyes burning into my skin. I was standing there, shaking, my heart breaking in a way I couldn't describe. Liam, I'm calling off the wedding, I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. I can't marry someone who doesn't know what they want. Liam's eyes widened in shock, but I didn't wait for him to say anything else. I walked out of the room, my heels clicking against the marble floor, and I didn't stop until I was outside, standing on the cold steps, breathing in the night air. The next few days were a blur. Liam tried to call me, text me, but I ignored every attempt. His family began reaching out, too, but it was only to tell me that I was making a huge mistake, that Liam needed time to think. They insisted that I give him another chance. But I knew deep down that I couldn't. This wasn't just about the wedding. It was about trust. About the man I thought I knew, the man who had just shattered my heart with his words. A week later, I was sitting at home, curled up on the couch with a glass of wine when there was a knock on my door. I opened it, and there stood Liam, looking exhausted, his eyes pleading. Behind him, his parents stood like a silent army, their expressions a mix of anger and concern. I don't want to be with you anymore, Liam, I said quietly, the words hurting more than I could express. You've made your choice. No, please, just hear me out, he begged, stepping forward. I was wrong. I was just scared. I don't want to lose you. But his mother, who had been silent up until this point, stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. You're being selfish, she snapped at me. You're ruining everything. He's our son. He's just confused. He needs time, not to be abandoned. I felt a surge of anger. I'm not abandoning him, I said through clenched teeth. I'm choosing myself. You don't get to guilt me into fixing this. This isn't just about him. It's about me, too. His father, who had been silent, finally spoke. You're making a mistake, young lady. Liam has always been a good son. He's just not ready for this, and you should be patient with him. I've been patient, I replied, my voice trembling with frustration. I've waited 4 years. And now I'm supposed to just throw my life away because he doesn't know what he wants? Liam's face crumbled, and he stepped forward, trying to take my hand. Please. Please don't do this. I love you. I loved you, too, I whispered, pulling away. But I can't be the one to fix you. In the weeks that followed, Liam's family continued to pressure me. They sent me letters, texts, even showed up at my work. But I stayed strong. The love I had for Liam had been real, but the man who stood before me now was not the man I had once known. Eventually, they stopped. And I began to heal.